Hi, everyone. Welcome to Beyond the Device. My name is Ambrose Bregg from 3i Technologies. And in this show, we talk about the mobile tech, the solutions and the products used for organizations who want to really enable their mobile workforce, their deskless workforce. And today, we're joined by Brian Bugge from SafeUEM. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Ambrose, for having us.
SafeUEM is an MDM and a UEM platform that's being sold through the channel today.
Yep.
So really great. Thank you for being here. But first, tell us about yourself.
Career-wise, it's been a mobile journey, which has been great. I remember starting in the field as Bez 10 came out and BlackBerry was starting to fall apart, and Apple and Samsung at the time on the Android operating system really took off, and it's been a really fun evolution to see what's come along with that, not just from a hardware but a software perspective as well too.
It seems like everybody that I have visit, they've been in the mobile industry for years and years and years, and have seen the evolution of the carrier space evolve. Yep. And just all sorts of gadgets that we've seen to be deployed.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But SafeUEM, MDM UEM platform, how did it start?
Yeah. So our founders saw a gap emerging as MDM and UEM matured and the market evolved with all the different acronyms that were out there. Was that customers and even the resellers were looking for a product that could focus on specific business lines to, enhance their, productivity, instead of having one encompassing MDM platform to handle every different business line within the organization, and allows them to streamline their operations, right? These business lines, at first only needed a couple features, there. And so that's where we really got our start, is helping those business lines streamline things and give them what it wanted.
What's it evolved to since then?
Full-blown UEM, MDM product. Just like anything, you start with the basics of a customer need, you address the gaps in the market, and then they grow. And, what we've done a really good job of is growing with them, and not necessarily building features just for the sake of building features, but what we've built has been around use cases that our customers and reseller network has really driven us to develop, to continue to enhance as their customers are growing as well too. So it's been very much a platform built on validation, and needs from the actual users themselves.
You were talking about rugged devices and the use cases. Why is purpose-built devices like that important for certain industries?
Yeah, we've seen an explosion of the Android rugged space over the years. It really started when Windows kind of decommissioned their OS, and everybody migrated over to Android. And that really came from the explosion of mobile apps as well too. It's these purpose-built devices are addressing the exact needs of what customers are asking for. You've got the intrinsically safe, the ultra ruggeds, when you think about construction, mining, oil and gas, things of that nature. And in the field, you've got, inspections, from field services or sales reps out there, right? And so we've seen this explosion of rugged devices being implemented across various industries. You've got your traditional scanning, and warehousing, back of store operations for retail, anywhere there's warehousing applications to get product in and out, and streamlining how the tech has evolved and what their needs are. We've been able to stay around and, do the exact same thing. As that explosion of rugged devices has really, really changed. And also supporting the commercial side as well for field services. Sometimes it's just an Android tablet or an iPad out there, sales rep or in-home nurse or whatever it may be, across these industries, and we can support that. But there's been a big explosion of Android over the last years to really drive this.
Kind of recently, we've been seeing also an increase of Apple devices in rugged environments using the appropriate accessories to make them ruggedized.
Yep.
Or they're making them intrinsically safe.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important to have like a simple centralized management platform for these mixed OS?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is being able to drive your policies at the OS level. There's going to be cases where you have this mixed environment where an Apple device, maybe it's in the field services, or maybe they mount it to a forklift or whatever the use case may be, where that's what's streamlined for them. It could be because of a variety of different requirements. Maybe they're streamlining things to have a centralized OS across the organization in these particular business lines. And then another part of that operation may have Android because it's an ultra rugged part of the operation, or a rugged Android device, tablet, phone, PDA, whatever it may be. And so then you get this mixed environment in that same business line. And so by being able to separate those from not only just a policy standpoint, but a management standpoint, you can really make sure things are hitting this right OS for what you need for each specific, platform, whether that's Apple or Android. They all deploy differently. They all handle apps differently. And so having one universal thing and putting all the devices in together, you create this really weird mixed OS inside of it, and it makes the management just a little bit confused. You can really start segmenting that out. And a lot of times they have very different refresh structures as well too. So it really makes things a lot easier on the end users and our resellers to manage that.
There's a lot of MDMs out there. Yeah. What separates SafeUEM from some of the big players?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we still do is on-prem installations. A lot of our customers want everything locally. They've already had the setup. They're not moving everything to the cloud. And so that's something we still support today. The other big one is, we've built for our customers instead of building stuff and saying our customers have to use it. We have a very simplified model with no tiering. So as our customers grow, for maybe just a couple features they need at the beginning, as their business grows, they can grow with it without having to think about the additional overhead that comes with, a new feature or having to move tiers and things of that nature. So we've really designed it in a way that it makes it easy, not only from a financial standpoint, but also really from the operational standpoint, because organizations change all the time. And the last thing you want to do is be going to make a change, device changes, or you need to add more policies, and you find out it's gated behind a tier. And we've eliminated that so our customers can actually grow with us. And it's not, just makes things a lot easier.
And the architecture on the back end, like you've designed the platform to meet the needs of an SMB customer, but then also be able to scale organizationally for hundreds, thousands of devices, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point. We really don't have a device minimum that we require from our customers to have. We see our platform as being everything from the mom and pop shop all the way up to the Fortune 500s and things of that nature. And designing a system like that isn't always an easy feat, right? It's how do you handle everything? Do you just focus on one? Is it an industry? Things like that. But what that allows us to do is really have a platform that's adaptable to the business. And SMB, in my opinion, traditionally gets looked over for feature sets and things of that nature. And we've taken a different approach to that to really address that big gap in the market. Is saying, hey, we've got you too. We're not just focused on the big companies and what they want. We want to be a cross-segment, a cross-tier platform that really can be there to service everyone instead of just focusing on one particular thing.
The mobile workflows have been changing, so the adoption of mobile devices has been growing. Can you talk about just kind of the how the workflows have compared to previous years?
I don't think they're ever going to compare. Everything changes, I feel like, daily on the workflows. Especially as companies within the different parts of their business are looking to optimize, right? Can we refine our processes internally, whether that's with automation? You see a lot of things, especially in warehouse, about picking, packing. You've got, conveyors that are doing work, overhead scanning, things of that nature. But I think MDM still plays a big part of that, right? And so having a platform like we've built that isn't dependent on specific workflows and allows the customer to change, and then being able to handhold them as they do that and how that impacts their environment, to say, hey, yep, this is what we're doing. How can we set this up to continue to maintain efficiency? I think is a big thing that gets overlooked. And so that's why we've really stay focused in being with our customers and white glove and with our resellers and making sure everybody's trained on what they need to do. So if their workflow changes from Monday to Tuesday, we can be there to support that. But workflows are going to constantly adapt. And so having a flexible system really makes that possible, especially when you think about the scale up, right? Going from, 10,000 devices to 10,000 to 100,000, right? That's why we've really focused on how we architect it so we don't have to re-engineer things as IoT and everything else really starts to explode, to still be able to service our customers that way.
We have growth in IoT. There's more connected devices. more connectivity needed, and then the information that's pulled from the IoT is getting pushed down to a mobile device, and now we're getting more and more information on those. And you got to really tighten up the policies and just the overall management, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think a lot of times inside the org, it gets overlooked, whereas we're constantly doing these sorts of things in our home, right? Smart speakers, smart TVs, the tablets, phones, connected devices. There's smart switches, all that sort of stuff. So the IoT has really already infiltrated our personal lives, really early. And what we're seeing now is that big evolution of how IoT impacts a business. I think COVID brought on a lot of that with being able to, understand social distancing and things like that. And it really helped the IoT industry get that big lift it needed to really start taking off. So I think there's some really interesting things that are going to happen, over the coming months and years as this industry evolves. We're taking our lessons learned from our home consumer IoT devices and really bringing that into the enterprise to optimize and get the data that's needed to make better educated decisions.
With the addition to rural connectivity availability now with satellite, other organizations are now adopting more mobile devices because they have private LTE or they have got more SD-WAN or Wi-Fi within their environment. I think that's, we're going to see the growth for sure. It's not slowing down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen a big explosion in our customer base on private APNs, private LTE networks, and remote locations. The satellite has really kind of changed that, with Starlink and the other, satellite internet providers that are out there to give remote locations access, which has then enhanced the workflows where they didn't have access before. And so we've seen a big explosion, not just here in the US and North America, but globally on these private APNs and LTE networks as the carriers are evolving, to how they can help rural areas where their connectivity really wasn't an option before.
Let's talk about channel. So the channel focus, sold through distribution, 3i, a lot of reseller partners out there that have been managing the tenant. They've been reselling the licenses. What makes a strong channel partner for SafeUEM?
Yeah, first and foremost, someone that already has mobility practice, whether that's, being there to support the customers, wrapping it into a service, what they're already doing. We've seen the MSP and reseller market has obviously changed and grown as we've moved to that mobile workforce and businesses have adapted to that. And so it creates an opportunity to really, work with them to create that opportunity. Being channel focused is huge for us. The channel is where we want to be, and being able to provide that support and coverage as they have a customer who maybe wants to go to a multi-MDM environment, right? Or they want to switch. What does that migration look like? And then we also have a big increase in kind of those emerging partners who have a practice that maybe is evolving into more of a mobile practice as they're continuing to evolve their business. And so being with them at the ground floor allows us, not just with you guys as the distributor, but our team with the lessons we've learned over the years we've been in mobility to help them lay a good foundation to be successful, in the portfolio of products that you guys bring, not only just on how we can integrate with it, accessories and everything else creates this really nice picture for, our reseller community to kind of start bundling everything up.
Yeah, those channel partners who have relationships with the device manufacturers are really great targets. Those who are maybe they're at MVNO or they're managing the data plans and they're managing the life cycle management services. Those are a great fit too. What the bringing value to those customers, and you talked about building what you need and being competitive. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things we really focused on with our MSP partners is we've seen this big explosion of Android devices, from different manufacturers really coming into the market. We're seeing Eurovo in there more now. We're seeing companies like Rug Gear really make a push, as they're expanding their operations. And, organizations are now looking to have a multi-OEM environment, right? I think COVID forced a lot of that. We're still recovering from that years later with, how we manage it, which is great, but that creates complexities. And so from our side, the management side is we've really designed our platform to be MSP management focused, which allows the flexibility of whether their end customer wants to manage it, and then have them as a backup when they run into something, or being able to come to us and we work with the reseller and the end customer together But it creates a centralized management platform for every customer that they are managing, without the need to have 300 different logins, all the different tenant URLs that you have, and that sort of stuff. So it helps with the management and the streamlining of processes on the back end for the reseller to support their network of customers and what they're doing as well too. And
we'll do a video of channel training for channel resellers, questions to ask, what to look out for, differentiators between the different many MDMs that are out there today that they're also selling. So where it makes sense, and that'll be coming soon. So we're looking forward to that. Stick around for that. AI. It's been, we're talking about it in almost every conversation. And we were talking offline about your roadmap for that. So can you tell us about where this is going, what you've been seeing, and how you're getting your architecture ready?
Yeah. It's a fun conversation, but it can also be dizzying, right? The architecture we designed and how we built allowed for scalability and consumption. What we're understanding now is we're really taking a big focus on how AI is going to play a part in MDM, UEM, and how the space really evolves, and building what makes sense. There's a lot of things that have to be optimized in this space. We hear the horror stories of consumption and all of a sudden getting a massive bill that can bankrupt a company and things like that. So we're taking a lot of those things into consideration with our platform as well too. Not only do we want to have the speed of AI where we get the instant stuff, just like when we were Googling and working through these things, but actually being able to surface real actionable intelligence or potentially even self-remediation. And that's where we're at now, as we're really looking at what that future is going to bring for the industry. What Gartner calls it is still yet to be TBD. But we're taking a really systematic approach and really working closely with our resellers and our end customers and through them, and trying to gather all the industry knowledge on how we can make the most impact and really where we should start building. It could be something as simple as starting with reporting to automate a lot of that and reading other things that maybe weren't surfaced before. Is it gaps in enforcing some security policies like PIN enforcement, password, things of that nature? But where we start is going to be a little dependent. But I think where we're going to get is we're going to build into a future where there's going to be some sort of self-remediation inside of that, right? The classic question when you call support is, did you restart your computer? Did you restart your phone? And being able to have a platform that can trigger those things without having to call into the help desk or support line, for that, or if you're off hours and, the wait times are forever, is can we build something that can self-remediate to address maybe 100% of the problem on the device, or be able to really hone in and surface what's actually wrong, so when they get on the phone, we already know what it is, and that information is then serviced into the portal. So when they get on the phone with the end user and do a remote share or whatever that is, they can actually take a quick actionable step, as opposed to having to go, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, I need you to do this. Is, can we build some self-remediation into the health of the organization as well too?
The channel seems to be, our channel partners seem to be like the front lines of their customers, just bombarding them with like, AI, is this do I need to do this? Do I need to start looking at AI cybersecurity, or what are the risks and all of that? So any help we can give our channel partners for some best practices. So it's good to see that you guys are planning ahead and that's on your roadmap. Anything else you could talk about on the roadmap? We've got some branding changing.
Yeah, we're with the evolution of AI and where we plug that in. Obviously, messaging and our documentation is all being updated and things of that nature to then provide appropriate resources, not just to our channel but also to our end customers as well, and their end customers. And a lot of that's going to start with some feedback cycles, right? Is here's what we're thinking, right? We build that and go, hey, this is where we're thinking. What do you think this is going to work? But with that comes an entire lift of web redesign and things of that nature to align with where we want to head as an organization and where the industry is ultimately driving, this segment. But really to elevate the information that's out there. It's hard when you've got hundreds of MDM vendors across the globe and making sure things aren't buzzwords and we're just trying to hit it for clicks and things like that. We're really taking a methodical approach by working on it with our customers, building the feature set, and as that evolves, is then being able to lift that into what's surfaced externally. So, as these things start coming to market from us, that's a big thing for us, is to align everything, just to make life a lot easier. So there's no confusion on, things going forward. I think MDM is still going to exist as a traditional MDM in some aspect, because some customers may not want it. Smaller customers may not want it. And so I think we could see a big evolution of segmentation again on that, one platform, but turning features on and off, to align with what the customer actually needs.
And that's it. Thank you so much for chatting with us, Brian.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming today. That was it for this episode. Check us back. See what's possible between 3i and SafeUEM.